late on in the race, and it became survival. Lawrence Boyson and Rickers Hutting in the 830 actually managed to get a 7th in special vehicles after having to stop again with their fuel starvation problems. That put them 3rd in Class A. A good run. Elise Roberts and Jaco Skitter. No real issues, just so far back in the pack coming in from the prologue, they were just jammed up in dust the whole way through the day. Similar situation befell the American spec Toyota Hilux of Malcolm and Gustav Buerter. Dirk Putter and Henny Hutting had major mechanical problems, most of them involving the diff and braking issues. Still though, they rocked it up to a 3rd in Class E. For Suma Smith and Gabby Peterson, they had a steady run, nothing too dramatic. They still managed to cross the line with a 3rd place in Class B. That makes it their 3rd successive podium placing on the season so far. For Glenn Teron and Gerard Skitter, jumping out of the Ford, they'll have been missing that aircon and the windscreen as they had to plow their way through a ton of dust and traffic. They eventually went on to take a 16th in production vehicle. That's not a bad run from that qualifying, and in this dust and this terrain, just to finish was going to be a big tag, and they could just hold their breath and get ready for the next round of championship racing in Bloemfontein. The G110 was stuck in dust all day and survived. For Alex and Alan Van Rooyen, the D77, after that low qualifier, were also going to be stuck in the dust. They had to back out of it very much in lap number 1 just to maintain position. At the end of the race though, 15th overall, but a 5th in Class D is some nice points on the plate. Thank you very much. Up the road from them was Regan Austin and Warren Foss, again battling with that prologue pace. The D16 could only climb the ladder up into a top 14 overall, but that was a good position, good enough to give them 4th in Class D, and that after hitting a big culvert, getting caught in the lead car's dust. The crew was shaken, but still good enough to finish 4th, just off the box. At least it was a finish this time around, and they'll build from that. The G10 of Devon van Bedra and Johan de Toy. No real issues, but they learned a lot in 210 Ks of racing. 13th overall, unlucky for some, but good enough for 3rd in the ultra competitive here at this round. Class Gs, the side-by-sides, took some beats, but this was the first of your podium finishes. For Jerry van der Bijl and stand-in navigator Tian Swart, it was 1 place better. They rocked it the whole way through the loop. Even though the navigator suffered from motion sickness, they did a good enough job to dig deep and get up to 2nd in the Class Gs. Jerry is really becoming a tasty man on the wheel. And fair play to Tian Swart for just hanging on in there. 12th on the road and 2nd in Class G. That's going to help him out in his championship chase for this season. For Andre Gelderneys and Victor Fincham, a near faultless performance once again as defending champions coming out of 2018. According to Victor, the road book and GPS tracks were spot on, and he got it nailed down once again. 11th in production vehicle category and the win in Class E. For this crew, it's not all about the prologue. They come to life in the big race. For Jannie and Peter Visser, they managed to get 10th in production vehicles, but it could have been so much better. In the early laps, they got stuck in the dust and then got grounded on a big gravel mount. This cost them a little bit of time coming from the back, but they were still good enough to take 2nd place in Class S. Again, another come-from-behind drive for the S2 pairing. An eventual 4th place finish in the special vehicles for the A25 of Dion Boyens and Jacques Leroux. Other than checking out the mealie fields and a malfunctioning GPS, the crew were good enough to come home 2nd place in Class A. And that all came about because of an incredibly strong run in the prologue. A good job. For Lawrence Van Veek and Moni Roux, the D1 brought home podium places once again. A 3rd place finish in the Class Ds, and that inside of a top 10 production vehicle overall. showing once again how strong and tough and competitive the Class D Buckies really can be. There's a good entry coming in for the Class Ds as well, with almost 10 crews making the gate. For Terence Vitoy and James O'Mahony, the D11 went one better. They've tasted podiums, and now they are so close to tasting a win. They'll have to wait until the next round though. Second place was a strong run, and they want a win on the season. We head to Bloemfontein to see what the D11 can get done. For now, Terence Vitoy and James O'Mahony can report back a good day at the office. A not so great day at the office, and one of the crews that were touted as being able to plough the field was that of Willem Vitoy and Leonard Kramer. The P17 went third fastest in the Ps, but they were expected to climb all the way. They just could not make all those passes in the dust. They had to settle for points this time around. Third place keeps them in good standings. That gave us some clues as to who was going to be up the road. A very solid run, one of the best runs of the 2019 season this time around for the P51. Second in P class for Tony and Mike Gavea. They made the pass early on from Francois and Ferdy after they rolled out, and they took a well-deserved win in Class Ps. That's going to set them up nicely for the second half of the season. Third fastest on the prologue, dropping down a little bit on the race. A flat front wheel, 40 kilometers, meant they lost some time, but they managed to stay in the hunt. Having a massive dice with the D1 and the D11, eventually winning the Class Ds by a healthy 2.5 minute margin. The D33 is back with a bang. With the G class bringing the biggest historical ever entry to round number 4 of the Inland Off-Road Championship, everyone wanted to go and take the big win. This time around, it was Labuskakny and Putter who absolutely dominated. Even though they had a broken belt on the second loop, they had enough time in hand to do the running repairs after their stellar qualifier, 6 in production vehicle, and the win in Class Gs. For Dave Huddy and Rod Cook, it was a perfect day. They keep their mantra as the Giant Killers, finishing 5th overall in production vehicles and taking an 11-minute win in production vehicle Class S. That sets them up nicely, and I know we're going to see them at the next round at Bloemfontein. They've got a taste of the Inland Off-Road Championship for 2019. For Vils Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter, unfortunately this time having to take one step off the box. They were the final finisher in the ultra-competitive production vehicle Class Ts, taking 4th place finish. Good points, but unfortunately too far back and just getting hampered by the dust slowed their pace, especially on loop number 1. 4th overall and 4th in Ts is still a nice day. For Dylan Fenter and Donovan Lubber, the T10 4x4 Mega World entered Total Hilux made up the most positions out of everyone on the gate. A trouble-free run got them all the way up onto the final podium position. Second in the previous round, third here, good points on the plate, and all eyes now on the overall title trying to chase down on brother Jason Fenter. The T11, after extending lead on lap number 1, unfortunately bowing out with broken front suspension. For Jacques Van Tonder, apart from the issues with dust, they charged hard, had a very good run, and climbed the ladder, throwing down one of the fastest laps on loop number 2 when the dust started to clear to get themselves up into 2nd on the road and 2nd in Class T. And they only lost out the overall race win by a slender 1 minute at the end of 250 Ks of racing. It was Ernst Roberts and Henry Kerner in the T333 Nus Navara who went fastest of the production vehicles, but that only put them 2nd overall. Still, a win in production vehicles, and that only by 1 minute, will set them up nicely as they head into the second half of the season. No issues once they'd made the pass on the stricken Fenter. The overall win though went to the hard-charging Stefan Van Pletsen and Jaco Pieterse. An incredible opening lap with a ton of passes put them in a position to get themselves up at the thick end of the field, and that is where they like to live. They dropped the hammer on the Liv Lesotho Chenoweth and never looked back. An outright overall win in category and overall for round number 4 of the Inland Off-Road Championship to once again dominate. In the pits at the end of the day though, a couple of rollovers and the injured cars, and thankfully not the injured drivers, came back into the pits on the meat wagons. We caught up with a couple of stories of the hard luck situations from the day.
We're here at the Gauteng 250 race. This morning started okay until we broke a wheel, and we had a horrible qualifying, and I think we started the main race at in 31st place. So that was quite a long day in the dust and trying to get through the field. So we had problems. We hit a beton block, nearly broke the car in half there. But at least we finished. Unfortunately, we couldn't catch the leading Class P car. I think it was Tony. We tried our best and it was very close at one stage, but we just couldn't pass him. But yeah, it was actually an interesting day and we enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
250 Ks of dust bowl racing and still smiles were had coming in from the crews, arriving late. It was a long, tough day, as everyone expected it would be. But at the end of it, everyone came home safe, and they will come racing with us once again when we move forward into the next event scheduled for the 20th of July in Bloemfontein. That puts us right smack bang in the heart of winter. So this was a taste of dust that is plenty to come as we roll through the center of winter. Rosalie hosted our prize giving ceremony, and everyone was there to get their just desserts, trophies, and well-deserved points. This marked the end of round number 4 of the Inland Off-Road Championship Racing Series for 2019, brought to you by 4x4 Mega World in association with Fila. And everyone now knows where they are at the halfway marker of the season, positioned well to go and get those super valuable points for the second half of 2019. For now, all big smiles and celebrations were getting wrapped up, and a lot of work was going to go into the cars to make sure they were able to cut through the dust at Bloemfontein, breathe well, and bring home more and more of the trophies. For now, we underline the halfway marker of the Inland Off-Road Championship Racing season and get ourselves ready for the second half, where things get super tight and tasty for all of the championships. It's starting to really come to life. Checking out results and category breakdowns from the Gauteng 250. Stefan van Plessen and Jaco Pieterse winning out in the Class A Specials and overall ahead of Boyens and Leroux. In Class B, it was all about Sifu van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw, the only Class Bs to finish on the event. The Class Ps was all about Tony and Mike Gavea taking their first win of the 2019 season ahead of Willem de Tooy and Leonard Kramer. In the special vehicle overalls, no surprise to see Van Pletzen and Pieterse on top. The Gaveas in second place, de Tooy and Kramer in third, and Dion Boyens and Jacques Leroux strong enough to make it into fourth ahead of Sifu van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw. Suma Smit and Gabby Pieterse also did a stellar drive to get the job done. Production vehicle Class D saw Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo dominate after their strong prologue ahead of Tians de Tooy and James O'Mahony, with Lawrence van Veek and Marnie Roux in third. Ease was all about Gildenace and Fincham. For the Class G side-by-sides with our biggest entry to date, Labuskakny and Putter get the big win going ahead of Jerry van der Bijl and Tian Swart, ahead of Dierwold van Breda and Johan de Tooy. Class F all about Malcolm and Gustav Puerta. Class T's saw Ernest Roberts and Henry Kerner climb to the top of the ladder, beating Jacques Van Tonder and Sammy Ratinghuis by a slender minute margin. Dylan Venter and Donovan Lubber stay third, and that's a good number for them. For Class S, Dave Huddy and Rod Cook beat out Yanni and Peter Fisser. Overall production sees Ernest Roberts and Henry Kerner at the top of the pile, Jacques Van Tonder and Redlinghuyse in second, with Dylan Venter and Donovan Lubber third, Force Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter just ahead of Dave Huddy and Rod Cook. So that was it from the Gauteng 250. Join us as we take the action into the Free State, Bloemfontein, on the 20th of July. We'll see you there.